everyone, it's Rose and welcome back to my channel, and today's video is going to be another monthly reading wrap up. So we are going to talk about all the books I read in April. So I read 15 books this month. I read 5,125 pages and I found a new 5-star read. I read 4 out of the 10 books on my TBR. I did deviate from what I wanted to read because I ended up trying to up my NetGalley ratio by reading a bunch of arcs I had on there, which was very productive obviously, but it did mean I only read less than half of what I said I would. But out of the goals I'd set for this month, I did read a Stephen King book, find a new 5-star read and read 10 books, so not too bad. And without further ado, let's just get into it, get talking about all of these books. So I did end up in a reading slump for the first couple weeks of this month, and the first book I finished, it really explains why it took so long. This is The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. It is a 1,000-page epic adventure and I ended up rating it 3.5 stars. This was the book I've been reading with my Stephen King book club. If you are new here, you might not know, I have 2 book clubs. One is a monthly thing, we vote and we choose, and then the other one, we are reading all of Stephen King's books in order of publication to understand all the little Easter eggs and the multiverse he's created, and this is what we've been reading for the past couple months. So like I said, this is an adventure story, although with King it of course has some horrific, gruesome elements to it. It has characters that you will fall in love with, and do not trust these 2 men. Together they are evil. They will put your favourite characters through absolute hell. They'll kill some off. They'll make you think others are dead. You cannot trust yourself to fall in love with anyone, even though you will want to. It was really good. I'll definitely be reading the sequel. It did kind of drag at some parts. I really liked the ending though. A thing with Stephen King is his endings are famously either good or really, really bad, because he likes to pull crazy twists and sometimes they don't pay off. This was such a nice ending. I really liked the ending of this book. It was not your usual King ending if you've read from Stephen King before. But yeah, I had a good time. I will be reading the sequel and I'm pretty sure he's bringing out a new book in this. I think it's going to turn either into a trilogy or it's a spin-off book from this duet, and that's the next book he's publishing. I don't know. Either way, 3.5 stars. Then I read my 5-star read of the month, and okay, I read this in a vlog. I cried many other times that weren't on camera. I could cry looking at it because this is potentially the last book in the series I've been reading since childhood, my favourite series ever, my comfort series. I reread it like once a year. This is book 18 in the Skullduggery Pleasant series by Derek Landy. This is A Soul Full of Shadows. So good. I have talked about this in, like, I feel like I read at least one of these books every single month at this rate, so I'm sure you've heard about this series before. I started it as a child where it was middle grade, low fantasy. I got my humour and my sarcasm from it. It is set in Ireland. It is so funny. As the characters in this grow, the readers are also growing too, and it does become more like young adult. It's got some more mature topics and like mental health talk and more violence and stuff, so it definitely goes from middle grade to young adult. I'm not just reading a middle grade series, and I think that word puts off a lot of people because they think it's just kids books. Absolutely not. There is so much comedy and stuff for adults in this, especially like the jokes get less PG as you go on as well. So absolutely, if you're an adult you can read this, but also absolutely if you have children, start them with the first few because they are very accessible and they're just the best. This was 5 stars. I'm really hoping we get an announcement soon that it's not the end because I need this series to go on forever. I know 18 books is a lot, but it will never be enough for this world. Then I went ahead and finished up a series from one of my favourite romance authors. I think romance is one of my less read genres, and Lauren Asher is one of... It takes a lot for me to really enjoy romance, specifically like to enjoy an author's writing so much that I've read her entire backlist, and Lauren Asher is one of the many few that made it to that list. So I finished the I'm not sure, Like from Billionaires I think it's called series, and I read Love Arranged, which was over 500 pages. That's another thing for a long romance book. Lauren Asher does it. It never drags, it never feels too long. I had such a good time and I rated this 4 stars. The uniqueness of how they meet for the first time, oh my god, I loved it. I was obsessed with it. I loved that they had that like a year before the actual events started. It was so good. I loved this couple. It was so much fun, and it was an achievement that I'd finished another series I was in the middle of, because I'm in the middle of many series and I'm trying to get that number down. So this was an easy option to try. I did a reading vlog to like get myself out of a slump, and I thought the ultimate test to see if I'm out of a slump was to read a 500-page romance book. And we did it, and I loved it. So okay, then I read The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry. Oh my goodness me. I rated this book 4 stars. It was one of the only Lucinda Berry books I had left to read. Dark, messed up, so fast paced, so gritty. I just wanted to know what was going on. I did, however, feel very unsatisfied with the ending, which is why I then read The Perfect Child, which is, I guess, like an epilogue novella to like see what happened after the events. I rated this 4 stars as well. This was good. This was fun. I love Lucinda Berry. I've read basically her entire backlist. I just have her latest 2 books to read now. I read all the older ones, and I'd absolutely recommend her, especially these books. Then I decided to read books 2 and 3 in a thriller trilogy by Nadija Mujagic. I originally read, I think it's called The First Thread. I got it off of NetGalley, and I didn't realise that it wasn't a standalone, and the ending was a cliffhanger, and like the big case was gonna take place over 3 books. That doesn't usually happen with thrillers, but I was so intrigued. I was like, okay, I'm gonna continue, and I'm very glad I did, because I read both books in one night shift. Absolutely could not put them down. It is dark, it is gruesome, it is inspired by true events, but it's not true crime, it is a fiction story. Okay, The Crimson Knot was book 2, and I rated it 3.5 stars. And then The Final Stitch was obviously book 3, which I rated 3 stars. The first book was my favourite, but this was really good. Very gruesome. It doesn't shy away from describing disgusting things. Maybe don't read if you have a weak stomach, but if you're looking for something gritty, read it. If you're looking for something unique, read it. Then I picked up The Secret Lives of Murderers' Wives by Elizabeth Arnott. This, okay, I rated this 4 stars. So pleasantly surprised, because I wasn't sure how much I'd love it, but it was so good. I was expecting this to be kind of like a book that I wouldn't fit into a genre really, like lit fic with a bit of mystery. This book got so tense that I fell asleep one night in the middle of reading this. I woke up at 1 AM, so scared. I had a nightmare about this book. It was so tense. It's not even that anything really, really scary had happened, but the atmosphere it creates made a nightmare for me. And I am not someone who scares too easily when it comes to books. I'm a wimp in real life. But oh my goodness me. This is set in the 60s in America, and we're following 3 women whose husbands are some of the most notorious serial killers in America, and it's kind of like a support group where they're friends with each other, and then there's murders that start happening, and they are determined to figure it out because the police aren't linking it, they're not taking it seriously, and these women feel like, how better can you know a murderer than to have been someone that slept in the same bed as one, that tied their ties for them in the morning before work. We missed it with our own husbands. We cannot let this other person be missed and get away with it, so we are going to solve it for ourselves. The twists and turns it took. The powerful, badass women. You have to remember as well, it's set in the 60s, so them being progressive is even more progressive. I love a badass FMC, and this book has 3, and it has more women that are side characters that are badass as well. It is so good. I would so recommend. And then this is when the NetGalley arcs really kicked in, and I did read some that are now published, so I can actually talk about and like properly review and stuff. We have What We Did to Survive by Megan Lally, which I rated 3 stars. This is a young adult thriller. This is from the author that wrote That's Not My Name, which I absolutely loved last year. Unfortunately, this book didn't give the same vibes, which is fine, but It felt on the younger side of young adult. It also felt predictable because of that, and I felt like the different characters were like stereotypes of different kids in a high school, if that makes sense. We've got the rich, arrogant guy, we've got the stoner guy who, they don't say he's a stoner, but he fits all the stereotypes of one. We've got the girl in love with her best friend's brother, like a bunch of different, I feel like, tropey characters. It made it predictable, but I will say it was an easy read. So this is following some characters that get stuck on a boat in the middle of the storm, and I can't really tell you more than that. I like forced proximity, I like that though. They're stuck in a boat, they can't go anywhere, they're in the middle of the ocean. So I like that that brings tension to a thriller scene, but yeah, not my favourite. I definitely would recommend That's Not My Name by this author. Then I read Worshipped in Ash by B. Schittel. I rated this 2 stars. The plot was so good. If this was a 500-page fantasy dystopian, would have been perfect. However, this was a 200-page novella. We got thrown in with absolutely no world building. We were expected to know what was going on, like, and we didn't. This was a dystopian book. The world had changed. There were these factions, and I was like, what does any of this mean? Why are we doing any of this? Why am I supposed to be rooting for a murderer? That never got justified, by the way. And I was supposed to root for this couple. Also, they were in high school and the first scene was a smut scene. Now, it never actually told me whether they were 18 or not. If they were under 18, now I feel really weird. You know what I mean? Yeah, the plot, like, it had so much potential. If it had been double the length and we'd got an explanation of what was going on at any point, it could have been a lot better, but unfortunately this was really disappointing for me and I can't say I'd recommend. Moving on to The Last Celebrity by Madeline Henry, which I rated 2.5 stars. This is about a movement that is kidnapping celebrities because they want the government to put rules on what celebrities can be and regulate fame and stuff, and they put out a list of the next 50 celebrities that, watch out, we're going to kidnap you. Basically, we're starting a movement, we're starting a rebellion against fame. This could have been like such a good, like, important think piece. We could have had some really good points, but like the celebrities they were kidnapping was like a shoemaker, a writer, someone in the, it wasn't like A-listers. So it didn't really make sense because the people they were kidnapping were not doing the level of harm that they were fighting against, if that makes any sense. So it kind of just felt like, if you're going to do something as drastic as kidnap 50 people, surely you'd want to do it to A-listers where other people are actually going to pay attention. It kind of just felt like, what's the fucking point? Yeah, disappointed me. I don't really have much else to say, unfortunately. I did want to like it, I just couldn't, because there was no, any messaging that could have been in this was completely moot by the fact that the people they'd kidnapped were not the people doing the damage they said they were. I don't know. It could have been interesting, but it fell kind of flat. Then I read Creep by Jennifer Hillier, which I rated 3.5 stars. This is about a woman. She is a professor. She is also a recovering sex addict. She has a 3-month affair with one of her uni students. He's like 24. It's not a like teacher-student situation, don't worry. But she wants to break off this affair. She ends up getting engaged to this lovely guy, and she wants, you know, she's trying to recover. She wants to stop sleeping with him, and he doesn't take that well. Creep is an understatement. Ugh. This was good. I rated 3.5 stars because it kind of dragged a bit. It was, I don't know, I guess the plot twists that were coming, it got a bit repetitive at points, but the eeriness of the main guy in this cannot be, like, I can't describe it to do it justice. It was giving me literal shivers reading it, and I also think it had some important discussions on addiction, because the guy that she is with, that she's going to marry, is a recovering alcoholic, and she got him through that, but he doesn't know that she's a sex addict. So it does have some very interesting discussion points on that. Yeah, good. There is a sequel to this, and I am definitely going to read it. It's actually on my May TBR, I'm pretty sure. So hopefully I'll read it in May. Then we have Sister Creatures by Lauren Venita Green, and I rate this 2 stars. Horror can be very hit or miss for me. I love horror, but if it's not at all scary or eerie, I struggle to see what the point is. I know horror is subjective, it's a feeling rather than a genre. You can sense like even atmosphere though. A horror doesn't necessarily have to scare me for me to see that it's good. If it's just not for me, I can still see that it's good. But this just felt like a bunch of different stories that were connected by what was supposed to be like a scary entity, but she only appeared like twice. Like, she wasn't prevalent. There was no impending sense of doom. It just felt like I was reading a bunch of little stories and snippets of different people's lives, and the scary factor didn't really do anything. So then there wasn't really a genre to this book. It was kind of nothing. That sounds really harsh, but it's just my honest opinion. I'm sorry. I can't say I'd recommend this one either. I've got hiccups. I'm trying to film a video. That is the worst time for this. However, then I read 2 books by an author who I've read most of her backlist. It's Minka Kent. Now, you love her or you hate her. Listen, she's kind of like Frida McFadden. I really enjoy her books. They're really entertaining. You cannot expect the plot twists to make sense. I go into her books with a different rating system than I would for other people. I do the same with Frida McFadden. If the plot twist doesn't make sense, I'm not disappointed with her because I know it's coming. So with all that being said, I read Imaginary Strangers and Circle of Strangers. Oh my goodness. I rated them both 3.5 stars. These were so much fun. We have a woman who escaped her abusive childhood. She is now with a man, she's married, she's got kids, and then her daughter is going to school. She's made this new imaginary friend who knows things about her mum's childhood that no one knows. She's never told a soul. The only person that could know that is her mother that did those things to her, and her mother told her, if I ever see you again, I'm going to kill you. So like, how the hell is her daughter knowing these things? Is this imaginary friend really imaginary? Is her mother back? There's so much more to it than that, but I can't obviously tell you because I don't want to spoil anything. These are really fun. They also get really deep. I would really recommend. And apparently there's a 3rd book coming out, I think in June or July. I will absolutely be reading it. If it's on NetGalley, I'm requesting it too. Yeah, these are so good. They're so much fun and I definitely recommend. So, with all that being said, those are the 15 books I read this month. A very mixed bag. We got a 5-star. We got quite a few, like 2 and 2.5 stars. All in all, not too bad. Definitely not the best month. I'm hoping for a better month in May. Let's put it that way. Let me know what your favourite read from April was, and let me know what you're planning to read in May. If you'd like to see more from me, please be sure to like and subscribe as I post new videos every single week. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you in another video. Bye!